big Mercedes presence on the Mille Miglia, which is to be expected really, because if you think about it, there's that famous 1955 win for Sterling Moss and Dennis Jenkinson in the Mercedes 300 SLR. And we were driving a 55. So we were in a 1955 Alfa Romeo 1900 Super, which is a little four-door saloon, which I christened the Milanese taxi. So I could only imagine what it would have been like in that, with that thing, Moss and Jenks bearing down you in the SLR. That would have been bearing down upon you, and that would have been bonkers, wouldn't it? And you'd have really known all about it. But as it was, we were mixing it with the gull wings. So there's a gaggle of gull wings. And they became a little bit of a menace, really. They're getting a reputation, you see. So there's no shortage of them. And what happens is they tend to sort of get in the way a bit. Now, you'd think they can't get in the way, they're so bloody fast. But what it is Mercedes put a lot of celebrity types and VIPs in them. But what they do is they put them in it for like 20 minutes for a little stint, or maybe just one saute of like 2-3 hours. They don't do the whole event, and they don't even do a whole day. And they want to get their photo taken. So they're sort of bumbling along in these things and so on, and then you get this gaggle of Mercedes LMs and things like that, and the G-Wagons, all supercharged, sort of bonkers things. And they're tearing around as camera cars, and they're cutting in and out and, trying to get these shots. And if you get embroiled in this and you're stuck with it, it's a bit annoying. And it gets a little bit dangerous because, of course, these G-Wagons are out braking you. So they're tearing across, pulling out and, doing all the bonkers stuff that everyone else is doing on the Mille Miglia. And then, of course, they can outbrake us, or anything else for that matter, on our drum brakes in the Alpha. My pilot's getting a little bit fractious about this, and he's had enough of it. So he decides, well, we're going to photobomb them. We're going to get in the way of their photography. Now, I'm not sure if this went unnoticed in the Mercedes camp, because I'm not so sure they were, best pleased with us upsetting their, these, whoever these people were, these VIPs, not getting their photo taken, or rather having their photo taken with this pesky Milanese taxi in the way. So this continues like this on this particular day, and then we pull in, because it's one of the time trials. So you have these time trials, and it's covering a short distance over a prescribed amount of time. So it's normally driving very slow to hit your mark. So it's not a fast time trial. And you have a big queue up for these. And whilst you're in the queue, they try and get everyone back in number order, so that when you finish the time trial, you're all back in number order for the next sortie. So we're there queuing up. And one of the stresses of the early couple of days of the Mille was this charging system problem we're having, which I eventually tracked down to the regulator. So I think it had a solid state Lucas replacement regulator on it, like the old 2-bobbin or rather 3-bobbin style. And it just wasn't any good. Now, it should have a Bosch one on there, but it didn't. And we only had the one we had. So I come up with hatched this plot eventually, where I attached a water bottle to it as a sort of heat sink. And that cured it. But at this point, I hadn't quite worked out what was going on. It was only through quenching the dynamo and the regulator that I'd worked this out, that keeping it cool would help. So at this point, we were just a bit stressed about it. So every time we'd sort of stop, you're a little worried about, will the car restart and other things like that, and of course the fuel boiling and all that, all the usual stresses of this sort of thing. So we're there in this queue, and the queue moves on a bit, And you're gonna wait 20 minutes, half hour to get to the actual time trial itself up this little old track. And we're sat there, and we're just sort of waiting till the queue's moved on a bit before we start up and then follow on, because we don't want to keep running the engine and we don't want to keep stop and start in case we run out of charge. So there's a little bit of anxiety over will it start. And we're sat there, and then suddenly there's this big old sort of unk unk out this Bosch horn from behind us. And we look behind us, and it's the Goldwing Mercedes, and there he is on his horn, unk unk. We're going to have to move up, aren't we? So I said to my driver, I said, look, we better move up, because it's time to. So we start up, we move up, and so on. And then I look behind me, and this Mercedes, it hasn't followed us. It's just moved us out of the shade of the tree we're sat in. And then he sat there in the shade enjoying it. So all he wanted was to get us out of the way. And I'm sort of looking at it, and I'm thinking, well, this is like the archetypal towel on the sun lounger moment, isn't it? All very an English Germanic joke, Anyway, so I look at it, and I'm looking, and I said to the driver about it, and he said, "Oh, that sod, doing that," and And then I sort of look, and I can see this sort of toothy Cheshire Grin cat sort of smile from the cabin of the Gullwing, and then I clicked, worked it out. It's Jochen Mass, isn't it? So he's obviously going to get one over on us in our pesky Milanese cab. So there he was. And I think it was all very good humoured, but it was quite funny. And so that was well played, Jochen. That was a class move. You certainly outclassed us. So well done. So that's my memory of the Mille and Jochen Mass. And you rest in peace, you good man. Good night.